everyone, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Amaka. In this tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make this beautiful bubu dress with asoke. Now, if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please click on the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified whenever I upload new videos. So let's get started. Now, this is the fabric I'll be using for this project. I have my asoke here. My asoke is one bundle and this fabric is 2 yards. Now, I folded my fabric into two. Now, I have the front panel and the back panel here and they are both on fold. Now, take note, what I have here is 2 yards of fabric and I've cut my fabric. Now, the length of my fabric is 45. Now, this fabric is by 45 inches. So, from here to here is 45 inches. So I'm going to start by taking my neck measurement. The back neck width is 3 inches and the back neck depth is 1.5 inches. The front neck width is also 3 inches and the front neck depth is 3.5 inches. So I'm going to connect the points. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take the shoulder measurement. Half of the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7 inches. So from this 7 inches point, I'm going to mark the sleeve length. The sleeve length I'm working with is 9 inches. So from this sleeve length, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slant and I'll connect it to the neckline. So from this point, I'm going to mark the round sleeve. Now the round sleeve I'm working with is 10 inches. So I'm going to mark 10 inches here. So I'm going to extend it inside. I'm just going to bring this line inside. So I'm going to check what I have here. So this 16 inches I have on the shoulder, I'm going to bring it down here. I have 16 inches here. So I'm going to mark 16 inches here. And I'll connect these points. So now I'm going to be working with the largest part of my body and that is the hip. So my hip circumference divided by 4 gives you 10 inches. And I'm going to mark 3 inches for ease and 1 inch seam allowance. Now this is optional. You can decide to use 4 inches, 5 inches depending on how free you want your dress to be. So this same measurement I have here, I'm going to bring it down to the hem. Let me connect these points. I forgot to connect these points. So now this same measurement I have here, this 14 inches I have here, I'm bringing it down to the hem. So I'm marking 14 inches. So I'm going to connect this point to the hem. So here, I'm going to give a slight curve here to avoid sharp edges. So on the hem, I'm going to come up by 8 inches. Now this is optional. You can decide to use 10 inches, 12 inches, depending on how open you want your slit to be. Now from the shoulder, I'm going to mark my waist point, shoulder to waist point, which is 16 inches. Now this is for the pocket. So I'm going to cut it, but I'm going to start by cutting the back first. So I'm going to notch this part for the slit and I'm also going to notch this part for the waist point. So the next thing I'm going to do is to remove the back panel. So I'm going to work on the front. So from this point, I'm going to come down by 4.5 inches for the front slit. But before I slit it, I'm going to open the front. I'm going to cut off the front neckline. So I'll cut the front neckline, then I'll open the slit. So now I'm going to keep this aside while I work on the asoke. So for the asoke, I'm going to be working with my neck with my waist point. And I said my waist point is 16 inches, right? So I'm going to add 2 inches to it, and that will make it 18 inches. So I'm going to be working with 18 inches. So this is optional. You can decide to use 20 inches, 22 inches. It all depends on how low you want your asoke to come down. So now that I've cut this one, I'm going to use this one to cut the second one because I need 2 of this. So I have 2 here. So you see my asoke. Now I have 2 of these. So I'm going to place this and I'll sew with half-inch seam allowance. After sewing, I'll turn it this way. Now I'm going to be using this lining for the pocket because I don't have enough fabric. So I'm going to start by folding this fabric. I'll fold it into 2. Then I'll fold it again into 4 because I need 4 pieces of this pocket. So the next thing I'm going to do is this. From this point, I'm going to mark 10 inches. From here, I'll mark 10 inches. Then I'll rule another 7 inches line. So I'm just going to curve it this way. Now, I don't have, this is just a simple way of making pocket that I know. So I'll cut it. So I have 4 of these. So now I'm going to show you how to attach your pocket to your dress. So this is the asoke. Now after joining it, this is what I have. Now what I did on this asoke, I brought the 2 edges and I placed the 2 edges together and top stitched. You know they weaved the edges, so when you look at the wrong side, you're not seeing the seam allowance. But if you want to do it this way by sewing with half-inch seam allowance, it's still okay. It all depends on how you want it. So now let me show you how to attach it to your dress. So this is the front panel. So I'm going to place this asoke under this fabric just like this. Did you see what I did? I folded my asoke into 2. So this is the folded part. So I'm placing this dress on the asoke just like this and I'll cut it. I'm going to open the front. So I'll slit the front just like you see me doing. So I'm going to bring the front. Now this is the wrong side of the front panel. I'm placing my asoke on the wrong side of the front panel. And this is the right side of the asoke. So the right side of the asoke is facing the wrong side of the front panel. So I'm going to sew here. I'll sew this slit. So I'll sew here and I'll sew here. So I'm going to do it and show you the outcome. So after sewing, this is what I have. So I'm going to flip it to the right side. So I've turned it to the right side. Now to free here, I'm going to notch here. So I'll notch inside. I'm going to notch here. Just a little notch. So it has relaxed. So let me show you how to work on your collar. Now I'm going to fold it this way. I'm going to turn it this way. So from here, I'm going to come up by 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches and I'll connect it to this point. So I'll do something like this. Now this is optional. You can just slant it to this point. It all depends on how you want it. So I'm going to cut it. So when I turn it, you see what I have. So when I turn it, I'm going to have something like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place the back panel on the front panel, right side facing right side, and I'll join the shoulders with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So now I've joined the shoulders. So this is it. I joined it with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So for the facing, this is what I did. I had to top stitch here. Then this part I folded in 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I top stitched here. So for the sleeve, let me show you how to fix the sleeve. We are also using the asoke for the sleeve. So I'm going to place the asoke on the sleeve this way, and I will measure what I have here and cut it out. So I'm going to place the asoke this way and I'll sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to sew it right side facing right side. So with this one, I'm going to cut the second one. Which means I'm going to cut 2 of these. I'm using this one to cut the second one that I'm going to use for the other sleeve. So for the pocket, let me show you how to fix the pocket. So for the pocket, you remember that I notched the waist point. So from the waist point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and I will mark. So I'm going to fix my pocket 1 inch below my waist point. So I'm going to pin it. Now let me illustrate with pin. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew it with 1/2 inch seam allowance. After sewing with 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm going to push the seam allowance on the pocket and top stitch. So for the back panel, I'm going to do the same thing on the back panel. I'm going to place the pocket 1 inch below the waist point and I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now let me illustrate with pins. I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance. After sewing with 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm going to push the seam allowance on the pocket and top stitch. So after that, I'm going to turn my dress to the wrong side and the right side will be facing the right side. So I'm going to sew. This is how I'm going to sew it. Now after attaching the asoke to the sleeve, remember that I'm going to attach asoke to the sleeve. So I'm going to sew from this point. I'll sew like this and I'll sew down to the hem. So the same way I'm going to do this, that's how I'm going to do this side. So I'm going to do all these things I just said and show you the outcome. So for the collar, I'm going to measure the neckline. So I'll measure what I have here. I'll measure it round. So I have 17.5 inches here. So I'm going to cut the collar. So what I have on the dress is 17.5 inches. So I added 1 inch for seam allowance. So what I have here is 18.5 inches. So I had to cut 2 of these. So I used this to cut this out. So I'm going to place this on this and I'll sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'll sew here with 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. So after sewing, I'll show you the next thing to do. So now I've sewn the sleeves and I've also fixed the pockets. So this is the pocket and this is the slit, and I've also hemmed the lower part. So let me show you how to attach the collar. Now this is the collar. I've sewn inside and I'm going to turn it to the right side. So this is how I'm going to sew my collar. So I'm going to bring this part of the neckline and I'm going to put it in between the collar and I'll pin it down. So here you need to work with your pin. So I'm going to pin it down. So I'll pin it round. Now take note, you're pinning the both sides. You're also going to make sure that your pin is catching the back side of the collar. It's very important that you work with your pins. So right now I'm going to pin it round. So after pinning, now this is what I have. Now I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew it round. I'll sew it round to this point. So after sewing, I'm going to have something like this. Now this is a formation. So I'm going to do it and show you the outcome. So after sewing, now this is what I have. This dress is so beautiful. Now I'm going to give this dress a thorough press. I'll wear it on my mannequin and show you what it looks like. If you found this tutorial helpful, please click on the like button. Share this video with your friends. Share this video in your sewing groups. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so. Feel free to ask questions. I'll be in the comment section to answer all your questions. We've come to the end of this tutorial. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.